Thank you, Lydia. I will demonstrate my screen now. Just a moment. Do you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
With the title of the
Yes.
presentation? Yes. So, and now we will start painting the masterpiece of our life. So, today I will first tell you how I started painting this masterpiece, the masterpiece of my life, creating and working on my events one by one. So I started using the methods and studying teams of Grabovoi more than 20 years ago. So, as you know, so my name is Olga Toloshnaya, and at that time, it was just a disintegrating country, and which was transferring from the socialist communist system to the just market way of economy. And when many information which was available for all people of the world was not available for us, it was not achievable. But still, what I felt that I am not satisfied with that knowledge which we were receiving. And as soon as the country started disintegrating and connections with the whole world were establishing, I started looking for new knowledge, for other knowledge, which were not taught in the Soviet Union schools, which were not available in the bookstores. And very soon I found a lot of works, such as, for example, Louisa Hay and many other authors similar, who taught people to build their events. And luckily, among all the foreign authors, in a magazine, scientific popular magazine, I found an article about Grigory Grabovoi. And it told about his unique talent of clairvoyance and ability to correct events of people's life. Immediately, I bought all at that time available books of Grigory Grabovoi and started studying them. At that time, these were his very first doctor's thesis, which are all known by all of us, daily concentrations, and 3 volumes of book, The Practice of Control and The Way of Salvation. And it was written in The Practice of Control. Memorizing of information in these books facilitate implementation of your events. And I read those books several times. And until now, I remember all events, all what is described there by now. And actually, what was described there, in common language, we can call a miracle, many miracles. How Grigory Grabovoi, by his clairvoyance, saved airplanes, helped people, carried out healing of diseases which considered to be non-curable. So, but actually I started understand, I got some understanding, and my events really started improving. I received enough income, for example, to go to Moscow and to listen to the lectures of Grigory Grabovoi, to study more of his new materials, which were published. And little by little, I learned to create, to correct when necessary each event of my life. I like very much this this comparison of our events which we create by setting a goal and concentrating on it, by painting. And each our small control by which we create our event is really like creating a picture of our life. And so now, looking back through these 20 years for which I have been carrying out control of my events and studying the works of Grigory Grabovoi, I see that really I painted a picture of my life. And of course, I could not even imagine what could have happened hadn't I learned about the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi. And as I mentioned already, my events very quickly started to be improved, to be implemented when I was reading this wonderful book, The Practice of Control, The Way of Salvation. And now let's think why memorizing, understanding this book, these events, facilitates implementation of your events. Actually, what is created in the world is not only by me. Many people create the masterpieces of their life. And when I mentally join the thoughts of those people and the thoughts and consciousness of Grigory Grabovoi in this wonderful book, of course, I get the energy, I get the vibration of those people, of Grigory Grabovoi. And my events, my goals get more oriented. And so for us to understand more about collective consciousness and what is happening now with the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi and all joining it, I would like to tell you a parable. The parable of the workers in the vineyard from the New Testament. So the quotation, beginning of the quotation. For the kingdom of heaven, it is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and send them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again about noon and about 3 in the afternoon and did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more. But each of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. These who were hired last worked only 1 hour, they said, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day. But he answered, one of them, I'm not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm generous? I continue. So the last will be first, and the first will be last. So what is this fable about? For me, it is exactly about collective consciousness, that part of consciousness which formed the knowledge of Grigory Grabovoi. We, with many other teachers who started studying these teachings 20 years ago, were the first workers in the vineyard. But now, with the years coming, more and more people join these teachings. And what I see, they already have that understanding, that skills for teaching, for becoming the teachers, as we who have been doing it for 20 years. This is exactly the collective consciousness, and each person who will join this group, this collective consciousness, will get immediately the same knowledge, not immediately, but very quickly, the same knowledge, the same skills in control as we have who have been doing it for many years. So the only thing which is necessary is to join us. So join our training, which will last for these academic courses. And from those teachers who will be teaching you, you will get, as my colleague Sandy says, you will tap into this wonderful ocean of knowledge of Grigory Grabovoi, which has been already formed, the collective consciousness. And the more people join it, the more it expands. And after some critical mass of people who are already there, everyone will join it, and our life will really become eternal. Everyone will accept and understand this idea of eternal life and this necessity and this reality of eternal life, which will have been achieved by everyone. So, first of all, you will tap into this area of collective consciousness. And secondly, the teachers who will study the course have exactly the same level of knowledge, understanding, and will teach you through their own understanding the courses they know best, or based on which they get more results. And this is very valuable when a teacher teaches through the results which the teacher received. Grigory Grabovoi says that when a person teaches other people through his perception, through his understanding, it gives a very quick and better understanding to those who study. Therefore, please join us, join this wonderful vineyard, which is offered you for this academic 2025 year, and which is really the haven of the kingdom of heaven, because by ability to fulfill your goals, to quickly achieve your goals, you really create or join this heaven, this kingdom of heaven. So, and it is really wonderful to be able to understand the works of Grigory Grabovoi, not learn only small methods, but to understand the reality which creates conditions and connections for implementation of these goals, of the goals that you set for yourself. And moreover, for example, the teachers already have a set of methods which help them in their life, which help them to live and which they use to make easier and better the life of themselves and their loved ones. And they will share these methods during the course, and it makes life easier for you. You will already have this set of methods from all these teachers that you will be able to use on your way to eternal life, creating the masterpiece. And we all together will be creating this masterpiece of life until it will be completed into the masterpiece of eternal life for the whole humanity. And now one method which I use for myself and my loved ones to make our life better and easier in case, for example, of season illnesses. Of course, everyone may encounter such case when in spring or in winter some infection comes and the person gets a flu. This is a method from a lecture of Grigory Grabovoi, which was given for protection or for quick curing against coronavirus. But Grigory Grabovoi told in the lecture that it can be used for any virus, for any infection. And since that, for example, if I or someone of my family looks as if having some seasonal infection, like running nose or sore throat, I preliminary use this method. And now I will explain it to everyone, and we will try to do it, practice to do it generally, to be able also to use for our personal cases. So first of all, an excerpt from this lecture explaining this method. It's a method of neutralizing the coronavirus, and we understand virus in the case when there is already has been infection. It is necessary to use a rather general technology that occurs in the case of infection with any kind of virus at all. One should try to introduce the light of one's consciousness sharply with a very high speed inside one's body and between the cells. And those places where, for example, there are centers of infection, they can periodically manifest a certain glow, usually of yellowish color, and it is necessary to separate this glow, which is caused by light, the optical areas of the coronavirus, from the cells by an effort of will, and to remove them to the space near the physical body so that the space does not come into contact with the human skin. And now please visualize imaginary person and very quickly try to look through his body, looking very far inside. Just several seconds, trying to see some glow. So very quickly, and even if you do not see for the first time the glow, you just know that any infection which can get into the human body, you can see it and remove it from the body. And according to Grigory Grabovoi, we continue reading the excerpt. This control in all methods can be done both with yourself and to help other people. And in this space that is near you, you need to highlight the information of this coronavirus, specifically so that it is located on the inner surface of this space. For example, similar to a parallelepiped. And you need to increase the pressure so that the functions of the coronavirus are stopped, neutralized. For example, at a pressure of more than 11 atmospheres, so that the functions of the coronavirus are stopped, neutralized. For example, at a pressure of more than 11 atmospheres, the functions of virus are basically stopped, especially if this pressure is introduced specifically into the genetic structure of the virus. Further, being a local part of the consciousness inside the parallelepiped-like shape, one should look as if, well, close to the logical, as it were, reasonable component of the action of a particular coronavirus, which is, well, isolated from the organism. And now we will do this exercise to isolate. Actually, now, when before using any methods for example, healing, treatment for running nose, some doing that, I do this method with moving out the infection from the organism. And then the work with other methods goes very, very quickly. So now you can do it on, for example, for a person who maybe is ill with these respiratory illnesses. Or you can just for training have an imaginary person generalized. So we are looking quickly on the body. And as if quickly, with a sweep, quickly remove this infection from the body and place it inside of this parallelepiped. So, and just imagine that it got this infection quickly into it and starts moving out, but cannot. It is kept by the sides of the geometrical figure. It is kept. And in order to disintegrate this infection, which is already in this geometrical form, we start creating a pressure inside, as if from the very center of this parallelepiped, we start doing pressure, as if increasing pressure in tires of an automobile or a bicycle. We create the pressure inside of this parallelepiped, and so it presses and offers pressure on the viruses, and they are more and more pressed to the sides of the parallelepiped until they pressed completely and disintegrated. As soon as they became very weak due to this pressure offered on them, you gather quickly into the center of the parallelepiped, illuminated them, this small, press them into small sphere, illuminate them with silver white light, and the point disappears. So now several seconds for you to do this method, actually it can, maybe I mean it for you, actually it can be done very quickly. And as soon as you get skills, you will do it very quickly if you see some signs of season illnesses of yourself or your relatives or friends. So we are giving glance on the body of the person. So, and you mentally give command to yourself. We take out the infection and place it inside this parallelepiped. We create the pressure on this infection, which is on the sides inside. We create the pressure, which disintegrates this information of infection. So now it has weakened. We collect it and press it into one point in the center. We illuminate it with silver white light and it has disappeared. So by this, the infection, you just, when you do it, you mentally also step by step repeat it for yourself. The infection has been removed from the body of the person. And the person is recovering very quickly. So we have removed the infection and disintegrated it. And now you can come to the methods which we usually do based on the book of Grigory Grabovoi, Restoration of Human Body by Concentration on Numbers. And so during the day, for example, you can do several times this method. And according to Grigory Grabovoi, the infection can be removed even by single action. But you, based on the situation, you can see maybe you can do it several times. I do it several times at once, one by one, several times, concentrating on the same. And then you start doing, as we usually do, acute respiratory diseases, 481, 454, 88. Runny nose, 518, 9, and sore throat, 1, 9. And the method which I usually use for doing these numbers, because there is no specific method in the book written for using these number sequences. It is just usual method, concentrating on the number sequence and keeping in mind the goal, which is also very strong and effective. But still, you can also use the method, which I explained in many other sessions, the method of sphere of love. So you just create the sphere of love above your head, you concentrate, and you call it the sphere of love. So you have created the sphere, you have called it the sphere of love, you insert the goal. The person is healthy. His body corresponds to the norm of the creator. And then mentally you place the number sequences in the sphere, for example, for acute respiratory diseases. 4, 1 by 1, 8, 1, 4, 5, 4, 8, 8. After you placed the goal, you inserted the number sequence, you illuminate the sphere of love with silver white light, very, very brightly. And then, like a shower, pour this light on the person for whom you concentrate. You can do it even for 2 or 3 persons who have the same issue. Because your consciousness can simultaneously create 3 spheres, place it above the heads of 3 persons with the same goal, and pour the shower of silver white light on the bodies of 3 persons or 1 person, as much as you need. So as soon as the body is saturated with the silver white light, so the control is over. So you can do it several times during the day, and after the infection has been removed, so the recovery goes very, very quick. So I noticed it and I do it daily. So, colleagues, why I shared this method and we trained it? I want to mention that teachers who have already joined our collective consciousness, the area of consciousness of the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi, keep in mind these methods. For example, I study many works and collected them for them, but we introduce them for you so that you can quickly use them for your daily life. Not, for example, and this will be happening during the whole academic year 2025. And you will get these abilities and knowledge which we have already got. Some of us for during the 20 years, some of them of our teachers for shorter period of time. And you will get them very quickly from such greater number of teachers than, for example, which existed in 20 years ago, because there were not many teachers. Grigory Grabovoi trained first 10 teachers who had students and were transferring his knowledge. So now there are a lot of teachers, and Grigory Grabovoi says that we need in the near future 5,000 teachers to transfer his knowledge. And of course, we need teachers to teach in the classes, 700 classes with the devices, because when you teach during this academic course, you will have the ability to maybe to pass some exams and to have some certification later on, and also become the teachers. Therefore, join our vineyard. Join this wonderful knowledge of Grigory Grabovoi, and you will get the same very, very quickly. So, thank you very much for doing this control. Use it in your daily life. It is very short and very easy, and it is very effective. And welcome to our trainings. Welcome to our open webinars, at which we will share with you this wonderful knowledge of Grigory Grabovoi. So, thank you, everyone, for doing control and for learning this wonderful knowledge.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you for sharing your experience and your masterpiece of your life, how you created with the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi and using the methods. Also, thank you for sharing practical tools and technologies, how we can help ourselves in various situations. And thank you for pointing out the importance of the training program and why it is different to comparing to other programs or conventional education, because it is not about theoretical knowledge only. It is about sharing the experiences and practical application of the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi, enabling us to control life events to the harmonious pace of life. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we will continue our live course with Jean-Karl Pinter in German. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Have a beautiful, harmonious day, and see you in daily concentrations and mini live. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all.